Leaves on the trees are starting to change colors. You know what time of year it is. Hi, newbies. It's fall, and you've been in the classroom for maybe 3 to 4 months. You've got great lesson plans, and you're excited, but maybe you're starting to see some things in terms of behaviors that you'd like to see change. This video is the first in a series of 3 that will help you in getting a handle on how to have a really well-run classroom. The first step to having a really well-run classroom is figuring out who's running your classroom. That seems to be a really simple question, but let's think about it. When your kids enter your classroom, who decides whether they run or walk? You or the children? When it's time for your lesson, who decides whether the children come to the floor quietly or whether they are talking, and that's okay? When it's time to line up for lunch or for recess, who decides how the children line up? Whether they run to get in line, whether it's whoever gets there first, or whether there's a specific order. And when it's time to ask questions, who decides whether your children can just yell out whatever comes to mind, or whether they have to raise a hand or even a quiet finger to get your attention? And here's one more for you. When it's time to get your students' attention, who decides how you do that? Is it based on the level of noise that you happen to hear? Is it based on whether there's an administrator in the room? Or is it based on something else? Believe it or not, the answer to all of these questions should be you. The basis for having a well-run classroom starts with having sound procedures where the children know what to expect and they know exactly how you want it done. A procedure tells exactly how you want something done in the classroom. And you need procedures for absolutely everything that occurs in the classroom. What happens if you don't have procedures established? It's simple. The children will fill in the blanks for you. And a lot of times they do it in the noisiest way possible when exactly the wrong people are looking. So the first step to having a well-run classroom is to decide, of course, who is running the classroom, which we've established should be you, right? So then the next thing you need to decide is the key procedures for things occurring in your classroom. How do you want the children to enter? What do you want them to do once they get there? How do you want them to hang up their coats? What do you want them to do with their classwork when they're done with it? Where do you want them to put it? What do you want children to do who have been absent for the last few days as far as finding their work and their to-dos? These are just some of the questions for procedures that occur in the classroom every day that you need to think about and get an answer to. Now that you've gotten a handle on some of the procedures that you need to establish for your classroom, you're not done yet. You have to actually teach them to your children. Children will not automatically know your expectations in terms of your procedures, nor will they know how to execute them. So it's up to you to train them in your expectation. The way that you do this is the way that you will go about teaching anything. You establish it as a mini lesson. You have an opener or an attention getter. You state your objective for the lesson, that you are there to teach them how to, whatever it is, come into the classroom, come to the floor, etc. You give them a rationale for this in terms of how it will help them. And then you model the behavior that you expect. You give them an opportunity to practice the behavior. I usually would start out with maybe 3 to 5 students that I ask to model what I just said, and I give lots of feedback, lots of positive reinforcement on things I'm seeing that are good, and I also point out some things that are not quite what I explained. The next thing that you want to do after you've given a chance for the group to practice is you want to give them a chance to independently demonstrate what you've just modeled. So it's all the key elements of a core lesson, but just kind of in a mini format. And you would need to do this for each and every key procedure that you'd want to occur in your classroom. A new teacher, you may be saying to yourself, how in the world will you make time to do this? And I am telling you, if you do not make time to do it, the children will make assumptions on those key procedures, and your classroom will be in chaos. So in terms of time, your mini lesson can be as short as, say, 15 minutes. You just want to introduce it, give them an opportunity, well, first model it, give them an opportunity to practice, and then give them an opportunity to demonstrate whether they understood what you just explained. You also, while they're practicing, want to give lots of feedback to make sure that they understand your expectation. And then this is very important. The very first time that they demonstrate the procedure that you've discussed independently, you want to point out models of those that are doing it correctly and give them lots of attention, because you want that to repeat over and over throughout the year. So what do you do when the video's over and you still feel a little, well, confused about how to put the things that you've just learned into practice? Well, the answer is easy. You get more information. And we've made that process easy for you with a new publication called Newbie. Newbie has practical tips, suggestions, and a lot more detail on how to apply the things that we've just discussed. There are examples of things that were actually used in the classroom to help it run efficiently and to have a well-ordered, well-run classroom. So if you want more information on how to implement step-by-step the things that we just talked about, then get over to our website, newbie101.org. That's NEWBIE 101.org. And click on Newbie. It's available in a printed format as well as electronic PDF, according to whatever is easiest for you. And get the information that you need to make your first year or your first few years in the classroom go that much easier.